I think we're ready to get this thing kicked off here. I'm joined, my name's Caleb Nelson. I am joined by my counterpart, Justin Coberly. Justin, are you there as well?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, Caleb?
I can.
Perfect.
I shared my screen. Justin, can you confirm that you can see the live demo, Sifted Marketplace?
Yes, you're on my screen.
Great. Awesome. Let's go ahead and get this kicked off. I think that this would be a really interesting and fun conversation. I think given the fact of what's happening right now with a lot of sellers getting prepped for Prime Day. I'm going to go ahead and keep my Q&A window up. If you have a question, most likely for Justin, you'll be doing a lot of the answering on some of these questions. Drop it into the Q&A window. This call is supposed to be as valuable as possible for you all. So if you have questions, don't hesitate. Drop them in there. We'll stop what we're doing. We'll answer those questions. Chances are other people on the call also have the same questions. So don't be shy. Again, just drop it in the Q&A section right there, and we'll keep our eye open and out for it. I think at this point, we're ready to go ahead and get started. So let's dive into a couple of different things happening with Prime Day. Justin, do you want to tell us a little bit about high level, how sellers are getting prepped and ready for Prime Day right now?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon, I think, increased the lead time for a lot of things this year. But when it comes to Prime Day, planning your sales out early April with Amazon, getting your lightning deals in, and then more importantly, getting your inventory into the FBA warehouse, counted correctly, hopefully, and making sure that you don't run into a stock out for your top selling SKUs on one of the biggest days of the year, right? That's kind of the name of the game, aside from all of the research that goes into advertising and planning and everything else.
And Amazon's going to be absolutely perfect during Prime Day, right? They're not going to make any mistakes.
Yeah, as they always are, right? So Amazon's made some changes, as you can kind of see in some of these articles, right? They've made huge adjustments to their storage capacities. They've opened up bidding capabilities. They've revamped from single SKU to ASIN. I mean, we always talk about, like, the more change you put into something, the higher chance there is of mistakes happening. I would say this year, Amazon has definitely made some radical changes right before one of their biggest sales of the year. So expect some bumpy roads.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think let's dive into how sellers can be, number one, more prepared this year to analyze what's working and what's not working from a data perspective, and what mistakes typically are found from Amazon's portion that clients can go in and get some recoveries on. I think that the overall theme here is that you've got a number of questions that we're posing out there to sellers, which is, have you ever struggled to meet increased demand and maximize sales for Prime Day? Have you missed out on Prime Day promotional opportunities, felt overwhelmed with tracking your Prime Day performances, which I think is a huge one, right? How did I perform? How well did I do? And I think that there's some really cool things we can show specific to the sales heat map. And then I think a big one is, how do I know which SKUs are profitable? And if I'm going about it correctly, based when I add in all of Amazon's fees. So some very interesting areas that we're going to cover today, but at the end of the day, it's going to make you walk away with the feeling of, okay, I now know how to tackle and what to look for in the data in order for me to be the best version of a seller that I can be. So we're going to show you a couple of different things. We're going to show you ways in which you can stay on top of Prime Day fees. This fee analyzer tool that we have, I think, is a really interesting way to break down your SKUs and add in what Amazon's fees are on top of it to look for true profitability. I think also evaluate performance and sales data. This next one down here below, which we'll talk about, sales visualization tools, as well as optimizing the ever and ongoing errors that Amazon has currently right now on your account, that you can be able to absolutely capitalize on, get some money back from them on, money that is owed to you, And Justin, how far can we go back on those fees?
Yeah, so for most of our auditing, we can go back 18 months. For inbound shipments, we can go back 9 months. And then for incorrect FBA fees, we can go back 90 days. So a little bit of a split. But for the majority, you can kind of have peace of mind that you at least have a few months worth it for cleanup, but most audits, a year and a half.
I think, which is awesome information for anybody who's listening, who's a seller right now, where it's been go, 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 go to get prepped for Prime Day. This is an opportunity for you all to look at it, have a tool to analyze it, what was successful, what wasn't successful, and then making sure that those recoveries you don't have to worry about, right? This is something that is going to happen as a great safety net behind the scenes, and one less thing that you've got on your radar that you have to focus on. The system will basically do it here. So we're going to jump into it from an FBA audit perspective, FBA fee analyzer, and sales visualization. I think it's time for us to dive in. Does anybody have any questions about what's happening right now in the marketplace, specific to getting ready for Prime Day? Anything that you're seeing out there, anything that you have kind of overall, as we shared some of those articles, some of the headlines, anything that you guys want to have some questions on, or drop a Q&A in there? Okay, I'll keep my eye posted on that. If anybody has any questions, let us know, and we'll jump through it and answer them right away. The first item, before we really get into this, we've got a mixture of people on the call. That some are existing clients that utilize our Sifted software on a regular basis. Others are this is their first interaction with us. So really at this point right now, if you don't have your data in our system, getting data into the system is extremely easy. This is not a large, cumbersome process that you need to get IT involved. You basically go to our sign up link. Signing up is free. And Justin, how long does it usually take to sign up?
As little as 4 hours for most clients. It can take up to a day, but depending on how big of a seller you are, but between 4 and 24 hours.
And this is the only thing you have to do. You create an account with Sifted, which is name, email, password, list your company, hit create account. It'll take you to your Seller Central link, and with a one button click, allow you to link your data into the Sifted platform. So you can see in Marketplace Intelligence, all of your data loaded in. So very, very simple, very easy to be able to connect your data in. We want to make it as easy as possible. Okay, anything to add there, Justin?
No, like I said, super easy, one button click. We are Amazon partners, right? So Amazon does audit our data compliance, security restrictions, and we are, like I said, registered on the App Store as well. So
yeah, so above board, there's no concern whatsoever, and extremely safe. We have our first question that's come through that says, any strategies for navigating new storage space limits?
that's a great question. I think a lot of sellers are trying to adjust to the new storage space limitations. And I hear different strategies popping up for a lot of different sellers, especially if you're seasonal versus non-seasonal. One of the most interesting tips that I've heard actually came from a podcast that Caleb and Matt Snyder had talked about, which is leveraging some, if you have an existing website, right, and you're selling third party or on your own site, using Buy with Prime. If you sign up for Amazon's Buy with Prime program, they will increase your FBA storage limitations in order to account for you selling on your own website and FBA. Granted, that doesn't mean you actually have to have a lot of sales going through your own website. So I found it interesting that, when we talk about trying to have really quick turnaround for increasing your storage limitations beyond trying to get into the complex like bidding processes, maybe it's going to persuade sellers to open up an online store and get the advantages of having the increased FBA storage space with Buy with Prime.
Oh, really good. That's insightful. And yeah, if anybody had not listened to that podcast, there was a podcast from Matt Snyder and Sifted, went through getting prepped and ready for Prime Day. And there was a lot of great hacks that Matt implemented there. I would recommend anybody who hasn't taken a look at it should. You can just search for Sifted on any major podcast platform to check it out. I think that's a really great one to listen to. Moving on, once we have the data, Sifted's going to break it out in a variety of ways. You've got your order metrics, storage fees, your sales versus fees, which I think is a very interesting one, your total returns, and a kind of high-level sales heat map. I think the big one that a lot of clients are looking for, though, when they first connect their data is how much does Amazon owe me? If Amazon's been making mistakes on my account, Sifted software is looking for those mistakes and identifying the total number that is currently available in estimated reimbursements. You can also see status update on which ones are pending, which ones are claimed, how much are urgent, and where those audits are coming from. Justin, do you want to touch on a couple of things with the audit capabilities right now and going back a period of time? I would think if it's extremely busy for Amazon during Prime Day, they're going to be making far more mistakes in preparation to Prime Day and getting those shipments out. And this is where we see, I would say, more errors typically come through. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually a compounding problem, right? So Amazon gives you 9 months from the day that you, like, we're going to start out with our audit software, audit stuff. The second it gets taken off the loading dock at an FBA warehouse, all the way through Amazon's redistribution of that product across all their FCs, all the way down to any customer returns, right? And it's really interesting to see, like, during Prime Day, during any, like the last Q4 of the year where you've got Black Friday, there's obviously more mistakes. Amazon still has a lot of humans working there. And when you've got millions of sellers trying to ship in inventory and get it all in at the last minute, more mistakes are made. On top of that, we run into the issue of it takes Amazon longer to receive inventory. So for a lot of these audits where we can only go back, like for inbound, for example, 9 months, if you create the inbound shipment and then ship it to Amazon and they lag on counting it and receiving it, all that does is just decrease the window that you have to actually get that money back. The last thing that we want is, you get your products in and then there's mistakes. And unfortunately, it's taken so long for Amazon to get the receivable inventory that you may not be able to file on them and lose out on thousands of dollars in inbound shipment mistakes.
I think that's a great call out. And there was one item that we were talking about in kind of preparation for this, and that's creating an inbound audit plan. You want to touch a little bit more about that so that sellers can really take advantage of audits that have been identified, but that are sitting out there without a proper plan in place. It really kind of hamstrings you in getting those audits back from Amazon in a timely fashion.
Yeah, that's a great point. So as a baseline for everyone, inbound audits are one of the only audits that Amazon requires documentation on, right? So for a lot of other audit points, Amazon, at least with our Sifted software, we don't need anything from our clients in order to submit those audits. However, with inbound, Amazon does have a very strict set of requirements for invoices, packing slips, BOLs that we need to attach, that our case managers have to attach in order to get that money back. If you do not have an inbound shipment plan set up, if you're a current client, or that's something that you're interested in, one of the benefits of our Sifted software and our team is that we've got an amazing team. We schedule a very short 30-minute intro call with our team members, and we actually create custom plans to get this documentation from our sellers. So if you're a seller and you feel like, it's too cumbersome to get this money back, or I don't have all the required documentation, I would definitely urge you to schedule some time with our operations manager, Elise, because we are good at catering to a variety of different circumstances for sellers and really helping them. If there's any time of year, Prime Day and Q4 are some of the biggest selling months for sellers, this is when it might be time to justify getting that documentation, especially if you've got shipments where there's $5, $10, $15,000 worth of mistakes that are being counted against them.
And I think that's a great call out. I think one thing that's really important for people to understand is that you have a team that will help you be as successful as possible in getting those reimbursements back. This is not just software where we give it to you and say, good luck. You have a team that you can rely on. Set up a call with Elise or one of her team members, and we can easily get something set up for you so that we can walk through exactly what Justin just talked about, an inbound, really an audit plan associated to that. Any questions around the audit? I'm going to pause and just kind of look for at the Q&A. If anybody has any questions around the audit and what cases we're submitting for, different audit points in terms of inbound, warehouse, damage returns, etc. I'll look to the Q&A. If anybody has anything there, we'll be happy to answer it before we move on. Okay, and while we're waiting, thanks to Emily in our marketing department. She's great. We were talking about that Sifted podcast with Matt Schneider in preparation for Prime Day. She found the 2 links whereby you can watch that podcast. I'd highly recommend that you guys do that. I think it's a great kind of call out, and he provides a lot of solid hacks. Okay, moving on to our sales heat map. I think this is a great way to visualize your Amazon sales data on a geospatial map that allows you to be able to identify ways in which you can improve maybe where you're selling to, or be more efficient in targeting specific areas of the country. Justin, there are a few things you want to go through here in how sellers can be better by looking through their sales heat map, either in preparation for Prime Day or after Prime Day, to identify ways in which they can improve.
Yeah, absolutely. So firstly, you can search any SKU ASIN or combination of the two and pull back up to 18 months worth of sales data, right? So it's a great tool just to look at, where are my sales going? How are my sales changing overall? You can filter it by FBA, FBM, or again, both. And one of the most important things is, our sellers are actively using this tool to figure out what's the proper way to market to my audience, right? So when it comes to things like Prime Day, if you are paying for Amazon advertising, you've probably noticed that there's a 10x increase in your ad costs to do any sort of advertising during these peak season times, right? Amazon puts a premium on it. There's a lot of competition in the marketplace. So a lot of sellers will actually resort to marketing their products for Prime Day on other channels like Facebook, right? Facebook has no affiliations with Prime Day. Advertising is normally a lot less. And you pick up the benefit if you do Facebook, Google Shopping, or any other advertising platform outside of Amazon ads to do geolocation targeting. So it's pretty awesome that, if you've got a set of SKUs, you could, let's say, pull up all of your sales from last year's Prime Day, figure out where your top selling SKUs are actually going, and supplement your marketing with Amazon ads, with Facebook advertising and more, as a much more cost-effective way of building up marketing interest in your products without paying those exorbitant fees. Likewise, after the Prime Day sale, you're able to go back and retroactively see, Amazon will tell you, obviously, your daily sales through Prime Day, and you can see that kind of stuff. But it's interesting to see, did the areas I market in perform the way that I thought? Were there anomalies between last year and this year's Prime Day that show a different pattern in buyers? Did I increase my essentially my market share in North America? Are there any new zip codes that I picked up that I didn't have last year? So it's a great way to do a post-op and analysis, as well as save on those initial marketing costs before Prime Day starts.
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of value for sellers to go in here and dig into the details and make those. I think of this as, how do I make better informed decisions, either in preparation or in what do I do next year? And this is where you understand your client base, where they're located, what SKUs are hitting for specific areas of the country at what point in time. And being able to toggle, filter, and then dive into the details, and then, oh, by the way, export the data, I think is a really cool way to be able to go through it and make, like I said, better informed decisions.
I also wanted to add too, if you do a hybrid setup, so if you're an FBM seller, being able to look at last year's Prime Day sales, where a lot of people may have their biggest months. If you're using a 3PL and you actually know exactly where your SKUs went last year, being able to strategically move your inventory around, possibly to a different warehouse that's more located around where your sales are actually going, is a great way to decrease your shipping costs and expenses there as well.
Yeah, I love that approach. Does anybody have any questions on our sales heat map before we move over to our fee analyzer? We'll take just a quick moment, look for the Q&A. Be happy to answer any questions that populate here, either based upon how we bring the data in or what sellers are currently using the data for. All right, I'll keep my eye on that Q&A. And I think at this stage, it'd probably be wise for us to go to our fee analyzer. This fee analyzer will break down, and it takes it that next step further, right? If we're looking at from before our sales heat map, which is looking at where your clients are located, what SKUs are hitting for what part of the country, at what points in time, if you have seasonal products or not, this really takes it that next layer further in granularity. It's looking at on a per SKU basis, what does my profitability look like? And is Amazon and their fees on a per SKU basis changing over time? It's looking for errors that might be happening based upon sizes that you're saying that the box is versus sizes that Amazon's saying the box is, and discrepancies that might be found there. Justin, I'm going to have you kind of set this up for ways in which sellers might be able to improve by going through this fee analyzer, and then we can get into the fees per product stage here.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to expand that very first line item, this is always a good one. But a lot of sellers are shocked when they see that Amazon is changing their FBA fees all the time. Even if their sales prices are not changing, their fulfillment fees are changing, right? So one of the most common mistakes that we find is that every time you ship products into the FBA warehouse, they are rescanning and reweighing your products. And unfortunately, you know, if you've got thousands of FCs across America, it's impossible for mistakes not to occur during this process. And that is the primary driver that Amazon uses to charge you your storage fees and your fulfillment fees. So this is some obfuscated customer data that we have here, but you can see that between week 2 and week 3, so that middle tier and the top tier that Caleb has highlighted, the Amazon dimensions actually changed significantly for the product. So we noticed it grew a couple inches on a couple sides, grew an inch on another, and it also increased its weight by almost a pound. That was enough to effectively change the seller's fulfillment fee from $37 an order to $44 an order. That is $7 more they're paying for every single sale that goes out because Amazon incorrectly measured their SKU. These are very difficult to catch. Amazon doesn't ping you when these changes happen. And unless you're scrubbing through all of your finance data and your order fees, trying to figure out, you know, why are my fulfillment fees going up? The tricky part is they can be right one week, wrong the next, and then next week, right again. Mm-hmm. So with our software, we're looking at on a weekly basis, every single time you're shipping products in, what does Amazon actually have on file? And you can upload your dimensions as well. And when there's a discrepancy big enough to actually put you into that different size tier, change your fulfillment fees, we can audit that, right? So what Amazon will do is they'll look over the last 90 days, how much did we incorrectly charge based on all of your orders and storage fees? And they will actually refund you the difference, which can be substantial when it comes to things like Prime Day, right? It's important that if you're a current client and you're utilizing this part of our tool to make sure that you give us the product dimensions, because it's much easier to request a rescan today and get it fixed versus when you already have 1,000 incorrect orders assigned to them after Prime Day. But also the peace of mind of knowing that even after Prime Day, there may be some cleanup that we can do as well in regards to going back and trying to get the correct SKU measurements on your products.
Just had a question pop up that said, what should I do if I notice increased or incorrect fees on a SKU that I expect to sell heavily on Prime Day?
Great question. So if you're a current client, reach out to your case manager or Elise. We can coordinate and our team will handle a rescan request. It's included. It's just included with our fee analysis service, but there is a ability in Amazon to request a remeasurement on a SKU as long as it follows a certain set of criteria. Amazon has to go in, they will hand measure the SKU. And as long as the measurements verify that they did indeed measure it incorrectly, you can go back and have them actually correct the dimensions for you. So if you're, like I said, you can do it yourself using the remeasurement tool requests. If you're a current client, utilize our team to take that weight off for you. Because it is, as everyone knows, Seller Central is not the easiest system to work with.
That's an understatement. I think really at this stage, Amazon is getting far more complex than it used to be in the way that it's pricing out its fees and the logic in how fees get triggered. I think that's a really important call out, is not necessarily the fees, but the logic behind the fees. What demonstrates this particular fee to get hit here, but not over here? And a large part of that is going through and identifying, okay, if I'm a seller, what do I care about the fees? Well, I care that they're eroding my margin and my profitability on a per SKU basis. It is a lot of work to go through and analyze, okay, why did Amazon charge this particular fee here, but not over here? What did that do for my profitability on this one and not on this one? Why are certain SKUs being damaged from a profitability standpoint, not physically damaged, but from a profit standpoint? There are a lot of clients that we'll talk to that will run this fee analyzer and specifically this fees per product page and identify that they are selling SKUs that they are underwater on, that they are not profitable on, but without the addition to the right fees and assigning those right fees to the right SKUs, they had no way of really being able to determine or know that they had SKUs that were literally costing them money or not nearly as profitable as they thought they were. Justin, anything you want to add to looking at current profitability? You can split it out between US and Canada, historic fees versus sales on a per SKU basis. Where is finding most value in this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the interesting things with Amazon is, like they claim that they're transparent. However, we really struggle, and a lot of sellers struggle with trying to find out per SKU profitability. And it's because it's dispersed so broadly across their system, right? So if you want to say, what are my referral fees for a SKU? That's one report. If you want to say, what are my storage fees for a SKU? That's a whole different report. If you want to pull order data, that's a whole different report. If you want to pull finance data to see, every little nuance of every fee tacked onto every order, that's a whole separate report. So we're running into this issue where if you want to figure out how much is it costing me to sell this SKU on Amazon, it's not just download a report, get the answer, spit out and formatted to you in nice plain lettering. It's spending hours trying to pull multiple reports together, being an Excel guru, trying to mash them back together and kind of paint a holistic picture. Our fees per product page is definitely aimed to help lessen that burden, right? So we're showing you all of the remeasurements, all of your fulfillment fees and how they've changed over time, your historic storage fees. And in that chart up above, we're trying to paint a picture of how every individual fee tied to every order, as well as your fulfillment, commissions, miscellaneous fees, and storage fees are impacting your bottom line. So as Amazon increases fees like they did in January, or how they're going to increase their storage fees as they do every October, you can start to see how your profitability is getting eroded away. And combined with our auditing, especially in times like these where 2023 is definitely a rocky year as we return back to normal from COVID, we want to maximize your bottom line cost. So being able to see all of those different fees, how it affects your profitability, and then how our auditing tools can help protect that bottom line is super important to a lot of our sellers. And also just from a time management, most people don't want to just spend hours cobbling together Excel reports just to get these questions answered for a day, and then tomorrow it's already outdated.
Yeah, there's a reason why Amazon makes it complicated. FedEx and UPS do the same thing. There's a reason why it's complicated, is that they bank on most sellers not having the time, energy, or money to go through and identify some of this. And I think one thing that's been unique is that this is a great software platform that will automate that process. I'm going to look to Q&A. I think we are pretty much at the end of this, but I'm really curious if anybody has questions of what they've seen so far, ways in which they can improve. Drop it in that Q&A. Justin and I will be happy to answer it. I think I've got some links out there in the chat window for everybody to take a look at. I know that you got a couple of people who are raising their hand here. If you have a question, just drop it in to the Q&A. We'll be happy to answer it. But a couple of the links that I have over here in the chat window include, again, a sign up page. If you don't have your data linked to this system, do it. It's free, and then you can upgrade as you go. If you are seeing items in the system here that you don't have access to today, and you would like to, upgrading is really simple and very easy. And you can reach out to us to be able to do it, or go onto your account, go into settings, and take a look at it from there. If you would like to schedule a personalized demo with us and walk through a little bit more in detail, we are more than happy to do that, and that is totally free. We've got a question that came in. It says, so when planning for future Prime days, could I use this tool to help determine which SKUs we really want to push and promote based on which products are actually bringing in the most revenue?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the two tools I would use for future planning for Prime Day would definitely be the sales map and our fee analysis tool, right? So being able to look at what was my profitability on this SKU last Prime Day, right? Super important question that you'd want to ask, as well as do a comparison. You can see, have my fees increased year over year for this product in that time. Also, like I said before, utilizing that sales visualization tool. With the cost of advertising and the growing competition in the Amazon marketplace, we see a lot of success by sellers who are willing to go onto other marketing channels like Facebook, utilize your sales data on Amazon, figure out where your hot selling zips are, and try and get more bang for your buck on your marketing spend by advertising in other areas besides Prime Day Central Amazon ads, which is just very, very expensive. Right. So, utilize your sales map to see how you can target outside of Amazon ads.
Perfect. Justin and I will hang on for the next couple of minutes. If not, take a look at the links in there. Check out that Sifted podcast, or schedule a call with us. And if you don't have your data linked up, link it. It's free and makes it really simple to be able to get some high level information on, and then you can move forward from there. If not, thank you all so much for attending. We really appreciate it. Justin and I will hang out for a few minutes, answer any questions that you all have. And if not, thank you again. We really appreciate your time.